Yes. Hello. Okay, James is obviously behind the scenes again, as you can tell, because shit is weird. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Small Screen Live. I hope you are doing very well. Before we get started in the show, I'd just like to do a little, what's it called? Just go over some general stuff about what way you can find the show. We do post this later on as a podcast. You can find that wherever you get your podcasts at the Small Screen Podcast. I can't believe I always forget the name of the podcast. But yeah, you can find that wherever you get your podcast. And if you do like it, please give it a 5-star review, not 4-star review. God, don't give it a 4-star review. And yeah, you can find a Small Screen everywhere at Small Screen Co. And if you're watching this live on YouTube or Twitter or Facebook, wherever you're watching, please like, share, and subscribe if you can do that on the platform you are watching. So thank you very much, guys, for tuning in. We've got a lot to talk about tonight. We've got a lot of Superman Legacy stuff to talk about. We've also got some rather interesting casting news as well involving Superman Legacy, but also involving the original idea for casting for Tony Stark, Iron Man. We'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk probably a little bit about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 and how well that's been doing at the box office. That will be tied into the James Gunn stuff as well. And then we'll also be talking a little bit about Denzel Washington and the rumor that he turned down the Galactus role, and also the rumor that Antonio Banderas has actually accepted the Galactus role in the MCU. So there's all that sort of stuff to talk about. Lots of cool stuff. Maybe a little bit of Alita Battle Angel 2 stuff as well. And yes, so Donovan Martin is in the chat saying, wonder if Argyle has been delayed into the fall since the book has been delayed all the way till November. Really hope we get a trailer for it soon, since there was a preview screening in my area a week ago, I think you mean. Yeah, well, I know Donovan is very into all Argyle news. Unfortunately, there's just not that much to talk about. As far as Argyle's concerned, the news was that Apple was a bit worried about the marketing of that movie. They weren't quite sure how to do it, but since that news was put out, there hasn't actually been any other news to share about that movie. So, Donovan, stick around. There won't be that much Argyle talk, unfortunately, because there's just no Argyle news to talk about. But I am excited about that movie. I really want to see what Matthew Vaughn and Henry Cavill do together, because that's an interesting pairing. Yes, who else do we have in the chat? We have Jedi Master EJ saying hello there. Hello, Jedi Master EJ. I hope you're well. And we also have this bloody comment. What did you guys think of the Book of Boba Fett episode 3? Small screen, I have no idea. I can't even remember that episode anymore. Although we will be talking about Robert Rodriguez, possibly, because there's been some news about him involving Alita Battle Angel 2. Dan Zig saying, I never know what channel to be in front of for the live stream. Yeah, that's a bit of a problem. We did try and set up this Small Screen Live channel. We're not quite sure what to do with it. And maybe we might put it into just do a clips thing with that. Though I suppose you can choose whichever one at the moment, because we're streaming on both. We're also, I think, James might be the one who could talk about this, but we're on another streaming platform called Kick, I believe, which is a new one. So if you've heard of that and if you use that, then do go over there and check it out. Who else do we have? We have who do we have in the chat? We have Shaun Dickinson saying hi all. Hello, Shaun. I hope you're well. And we've got Bobby Anderson in the chat saying hello to everybody. Hello to Shaun. Hello to me. Hello to James. And yes, Danzig asking, how's the internet speed for me today? Well, it is a lot better because I've plugged directly into my router. So I finally did that. So the internet speed should be much better. It's crazy because I get like 500 megabyte speed on Wi-Fi. But obviously I think it's my laptop. I'm going to be honest with you. I think it's the laptop. I think it doesn't have the latest Wi-Fi in it, which is an Apple thing.
No.
No. Is that a no as in it's not my laptop, or a no as in my laptop doesn't have the latest Wi-Fi? It doesn't have Wi-Fi 6E. I think it's just got Wi-Fi 6.
It's not the laptop.
Is it not that? Okay, it's not the laptop, obviously. You know what it is? I've said this time and time again. It's the fact that France, they build their buildings with real walls, solid, thick walls, so the internet signal can't get through. Anyway, that's enough. That's enough internet talk for one day. Who else? Is that everyone? Is that everybody we have in the chat? We've got Danzig saying nice to see you, Ed, Shaun, and James. Yes, we'll bring everybody into the chat in just a second. I think James is getting everything set up in the background. Right. Oh, actually, an interesting comment from Rodney just come up saying, I'm calling it now, Extraction 2 better than Fast 10. Honestly, I don't think there's no competition as far as I'm concerned. I hate the Fast and Furious franchise. I think it's a pile of crap. And I love the Extraction movie, the first one, and I'm very much excited to see the second one. I think that's actually the best thing that the Russo brothers have been involved with since they left since they directed Avengers Endgame. To be honest, it's a very low bar because a lot of the stuff they've done has been pretty bad since that last Avengers movie. But the Fast and the Furious movie, I just do not understand those films. I get it, people find them fun. But I just think they're just too dumb. They're too dumb. And watching Vin Diesel go on about family for 10 movies now. There've been 10 movies, and the rumors they're making 3 more. It's just no, they're making 2 more. I think it was originally meant to be like this was meant to be a two-parter. But I think Vin Diesel revealed it to a journalist that they want to make it 3. This is the new thing in Hollywood. In Hollywood, they used to split up the final movie into 2. They're now splitting it into 3 because they want to make as much money as they possibly can. And I'm pretty sure Shaun's got some stuff to say about that as well. About what's going on in Hollywood. Rodney also says, can you explain the $340 million budget? Nobody can. Actually, Shaun possibly could. Yes, here we go. Hey, Shaun.
I consider that they're splitting this next one into 3 movies and they're doing a trilogy. I consider that a threat.
That's exactly what it is.
The first one was stylish and interesting. The third one was a great young adult novel translated onto screen, and I was surprised at how much I liked it. And I've not been able to sit through any of them, despite my tremendous crush on Michelle Rodriguez, which is a prime example of me barking up the wrong tree. But you know,
honestly, those films, I've never. The first 2 were kind of stripped back, kind of underground, weirdly independent movies.
They felt underground. The first one especially felt really like an underground movie.
Yeah. And then they just got stupider and stupider, and it's just got to the point now where I'm probably still going to see it because I have to, because we write about it. But honestly, I'm not looking forward to it. And the more I look at like Jason Momoa post Game of Thrones, the more I think he's a very one-note actor.
No,
he does the same thing. Apart from Game of Thrones, where you don't give him any lines.
He doesn't talk.
The lines you give him are in a made-up language.
We need a big, muscular, good-looking guy.
Yeah,
but he's going to be mostly mute. Oh well, Momoa is good for that.
Well, the problem is you talk about muscular now. Momoa is a bit chunky.
He's getting there.
Yeah.
Now we talked about that Canadian movie he did years ago, that science fiction thing, and he was really slim.
Yeah,
I was really surprised when I saw it because I'm not a big Jason Momoa follower.
Yeah, his body transformation over the years has been quite intense, and he seems to have just been like, you know what, I don't care anymore. It's like I'm gonna play Aquaman, but I'm just gonna be in the suit the whole time, and the suit might be slightly padded. Or there might be some stuff going on there that make him look a bit. I think he might have been okay for Aquaman 2, but looking at the trailer for Fast 10, he's not in the gym as much as he used to be.
It's the Chris Pratt method of being in shape.
Well, this is the thing. Actually, talking of Chris Pratt, watching Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, that was the one thing that I was like, is it me, or has he like just kind of not? It's obviously really difficult to keep in that level of shape for such a long time, and he's a bit chunky as well in this new movie.
It started almost as soon as the first Guardians was finished, I think.
Yeah, but not like the second or Avengers Endgame.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I told you I just imagine Thanksgiving at the governor's house, Oh, Chris, you sure you want another helping of mashed potatoes? Let me tell you how much work I had to do for Conan the Destroyer.
Here's a pint of milk. Get into the gym.
There is my son Joseph. Look at the great shape he's in. Chris, you could be like him if you listen to me.
There's my other son, who is not actually my son. I don't know if he is my son. He looks exactly like me.
Reese in the house. Been a while. Good to see you, Reese.
Hello, Reese 75. The 75th.
Oh, Reese, hello.
Vin Diesel never let Fast and Furious end.
It's what he's got now. He
literally all he's got.
He had that Hannibal project, and didn't he have a Dungeons and Dragons project for a while too, and then he did a movie with Sidney Lumet, which everyone made fun of. But frankly, if Sidney Lumet offers you a part, you take it. That makes sense. But he doesn't have anything else. I'm talking about Riddick 95 is coming out.
He gets to say "I am Groot" and gets paid for that. So there's a bit of that. Yeah, he's got that as well.
Yeah,
but honestly, it's just a franchise that I've kind of after like I think I quite like Tokyo Drift. That's the third one. It's a good young adult novel turned into a movie. That's what it felt like. Yeah, and that's the kind of the different one. And then they just kind of there he is. Oh, Vin.
And Tokyo Drift had Sung Kang in it, who I think is super cool, and I don't understand why he's not a huge star.
He's not the one they brought back, is he, from the dead?
Yeah, he's the one in Tokyo Drift, and
he gets decapitated in Tokyo Drift, and somehow he got
better.
Yeah.
Family. Where'd you get a picture of me?
Fast and Furious 13 will do the time travel and create a new timeline called Crash Point with younger actors.
Vin Diesel fucks up the timeline by going back to save his mom because it's family.
I would not be surprised if that's something they end up doing. But
we almost always make it to 15 minutes before Shaun swears. Last week it was 13 minutes. This week is 14 minutes, 25 seconds. One day we'll get to 15 minutes for the YouTube thing.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Doesn't matter.
I'm fucking sorry. I'm really fucking sorry.
There you go. That's your quota.
I can tell you why those movies cost so much, because there's a billion producers on it who are all getting their money up front.
Yeah.
That's really what's costing the most money. It's not like they have got like huge special effects or anything like that. They've got a lot of stunt work, but I don't think they're. I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen one in years because I've got a life to lead.
I was invited to the screening in London, but it's in London, and I was a bit like, I'm really not. I've been invited to all these screenings of movies that I just don't care about. So it was Fast 10 and then Transformers Rise of the Beasts. And I think those are the two most boring looking movies. Yeah.
All right. So I've got the IMDb page open. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 producers listed on it, including Justin Lin, Vin Diesel. So that's what's giving art direction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people in art direction.
It's a mere miracle that they're able to make a movie with so many people involved. I mean, there must be so many conflicts.
Once you get that many people, it's the craft services that's really driving the budget up. I mean, you've got to get hamburgers for everybody every day.
Exactly.
Sometimes twice a day.
Yeah. I love the fact that Justin Lin is still a producer, even though he left that movie as the director. And yeah, this is the one that's directed by Louis Leterrier, the most underwhelming Hollywood director. It's like he did the Transport movies, didn't he?
Yeah, and he did TMNT, and he also did the Best Die Hard Ever with Kevin Smith.
And he did the Incredible Hulk. That was the other film that he did.
That's not a bad film.
But this is the thing. He's like, I say underwhelming, but I mean kind of just solid.
Right.
He's just a very solid. The thing is, right, Louis Leterrier is one of these directors that he's very. I think he's quite good friends with Luc Besson, right? Who is one of the most problematic directors I think working in Hollywood. Like, honestly, I do not understand how that guy's not in prison. Like, I was looking.
Why? I didn't know. I mean, I love his films.
Honestly, he is such. There are so many stories about him. So many sexual misconduct stories. The fact that he married. So you know the director. It's really interesting. There's a movie that's coming out at the moment called Jeanne du Barry.
All you need to do is go watch Leon the Professional.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes.
That's true.
Well, Leon the Professional. So this movie Jeanne du Barry, which is directed by a French director, she also stars in it, called Malouine. I think that's how you say it.
Is that the one with Johnny Depp that premiered at Cannes last night?
That's the one with Johnny Depp that premiered at Cannes, and she was married to Luc Besson. He married her when she was 16. And then got her pregnant. I think she was about 19 when she got pregnant. Then he ended up leaving her for Mila Jovovich. Who was also, I mean, she was the same age, so she was 21 at the time. He would have been 32 at the time, and this is something. I mean, he's been in court. Honestly, his lawyer must be so rich because he has been in court so much, and it's just nonstop. It's like there's always some sort of sexual assault allegation made against him. But the French movie industry is such a boys' club. Honestly, it's worse than Hollywood.
Well, they protected Depardieu for so long.
They protect all of their male movie directors, and Luc Besson was one of these young, up-and-coming film directors that France was really proud of, and the industry did everything they could to protect him, and he's still being protected to this day. And Louis Leterrier is one of those directors that came out of that school. It's called Le Cinéma du Mouvement, I think it was called.
Yeah. The new cinema movement, right?
Yeah. It was a new cinema movement that Luc Besson was part of and Louis Leterrier was part of. And they basically he also ended up getting sued by John Carpenter for his movie Lockout, because he sued him because it was a complete ripoff of Escape New York. You know,
let's not talk about Fort Apache and Assault on Precinct 13.
Yeah,
there was a lawsuit over that.
There was a lawsuit over that. Yeah, I've been. I honestly, when I was in this weird place that we were in for the last week, I was doing a lot of reading about Luc Besson because basically it's fascinating because this director that she's a director / movie star that he used to be married to. Is in serious trouble because she spat on a journalist in a restaurant in Paris. But he's not just a journalist; he was the former editor-in-chief of Le Monde, and he's also started off a really well-known. I'm forgetting the name now, but he's the founder of a really well-known investigative media outlet, investigative journalism media outlet in France, really respected. And she spat on him and swore at him and pulled his hair or something, and he's going through court at the moment.
She'd obviously just finished reading How to Make Friends in
Yeah.
So God.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on in France at the moment, and that's why that whole story about Luc Besson came up, because she was claiming that the Professional, Leon the Professional, was actually was inspired by her relationship with Luc Besson.
Well,
so Natalie Portman's character in that was meant to be her.
Dan mentioned that he'd watched Leon recently, and it because of my age or because I'm a dad, but some parts made me uncomfortable, and I feel exactly the same way. The last time I saw it was like, wow, how did I not pick up on this the first 20 times I saw it?
Yeah. It's really when you rewatch it now, you're like, oh god, this is really, really quite bad, actually. Yeah. And I mean, he seems to get a pass. People seem to love. I mean, again, I love The Fifth Element. I think The Fifth Element is a terrific film. I actually think Leon, if you try and not think about that aspect of the movie, is also a very good movie. But there comes a point where he needs to stop.
Transporter's a really good action movie.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you remember a couple weeks ago I said I was watching La Femme Nikita and then I was going to watch Point Break afterwards? Not Point Break, Point No Return.
Yeah.
I got 20 minutes into Point No Return. I couldn't watch it. Just even the score was horrible. It seemed like a TV movie score. But I completely forgot that there was Victor the Cleaner in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot Jean Reno was in it. Yeah. That was amazing. Yeah.
There's also Big Blue, which is not really a crime movie, but isn't that Luc Besson, the one with Jean Reno about the fish boy, the guy who can hold his breath for so long?
Not sure if that's he financed a load of films and then through Europacorp. But
1988, about freedivers. It is directed...
it's Le Grand Bleu.
Luc Besson, director and written by Luc Besson.
La Femme Nikita, though, absolutely brilliant film that deserves a rewatch every year. But so he's the French's golden boy, is what you're telling me, Edward. But is it also because he's a good director that he hasn't become like Brett Ratner?
Well, I mean,
Bryan Singer is a good director. It depends.
Well, he's a good. I mean, he made a very good movie in The Usual Suspects.
Mm-hmm.
He made I'd say 3 good X-Men films, like decent.
Hey, X-Men: The Last Stand is a good film. I don't care what anyone says.
Okay. Let's agree to disagree.
For the time it came out, the current status of the X-Men franchise and the films.
Well, it was dead.
Well, yeah. So they come out and they kill Cyclops, and they were just like, we're just gonna have fun with this, you know.
You're talking about the Ratner one, right?
Yeah.
The Ratner one.
I thought it was a fun. And Galliard Productions, thank you very much for the super chat. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. That's very nice.
Thank you.
We'll split that 3 ways. Thank you very much.
After the 60% that YouTube takes.
Yeah.
We really appreciate it. Yeah, we had just mentioned that, Johan. We were getting on.
Jeanne Dubarry. So it's I can't remember how you pronounce her name. Malouin. She's a very odd person. Very odd. She's now. So this journalist that she spat on is now saying that she's anti-feminist, anti-Me Too. He does not like her. So I'm like, it's just a bit of a shame that this is the kind of Johnny Depp's kind of tied himself to her because
he's already a little touchy in that area.
Yeah, and I do wonder whether this might kind of. I hope the film's good, but I think this might end up kind of not being the great return that he's hoping it is going to be. I hope it is because I like him as an actor and it sounds like an interesting film, but she is highly problematic and she's always putting her foot in their mouth and seemingly using her mouth to spit on people. In restaurants.
Mikey's in the house. Long time for you too, Mikey.
Hi, Mikey.
They need to do a proper Archangel.
So Archangel, yeah.
I'd be happy with a proper Warren Worthington III, the rich prep school boy with wings. I don't feel like we got a guy who was like really good looking. Yeah, oddly enough, in a Bryan Singer movie, but you know, it still didn't feel like I ever really. I never felt like I felt like they did a good job with Scott and Jean, and I kind of liked when. I kind of like what they've done with Hank, but I don't feel like I've ever gotten like the first 5 together. And I remember being a wee lad and buying those. Not the original books, but the reprint books that were happening right before Giant Size X-Men, and really digging that stuff.
I mean, I just feel bad for the actor that played Cyclops. What's his name? James
Marsden.
He gets shat on in every movie he's in. Literally, like. he just plays a character. He's Cyclops, supposedly one of the main X-Men. They kill him off in like the first 5 minutes of that third movie. He had nothing to do with.
I can't stand Cyclops, so I was so happy about that.
Cyclops is one of my favorite characters, and I love
was sad about that.
I love the scene in the first one where he and Wolverine have the confrontation, the brief.
You're a dick.
Yeah, my dick is bigger than your confrontation.
That's good. I just mean Cyclops
because it's just the whole thing is that what I really loved about the Cyclops Wolverine relationship is that Wolverine's the toughest guy in the world until Cyclops goes.
Yeah,
so like, yeah, tell me how cool you are.
I mean, like in a whole, Cyclops as a character from like the last 30 or 40 years has always kind of been like stale for me.
He's the dull grown
Captain America for me until I read Ed Brubaker's run, and then I was like, oh, okay, that's good.
Yeah, that's kind of the character he is, but
Yeah, I mean, we can agree to disagree on X-Men. What was it called? X-Men
Last Stand.
Everyone disagrees with me, and I don't care.
Marsden's in a great new show on the US on Freevee called Jury Duty, which is it's a fake documentary series where everybody in it is cast as an actor except one person, and he thinks he's really on jury duty. And Marsden plays a jerk version of himself, the movie star who gets trapped on jury duty.
He was in a good movie about the writer of Wonder Woman.
Dr. Moulton and the Wonder Women, I know the one you're talking about. Yeah,
he was good in that.
He's good in everything he does.
Yeah, he is. He's a really underrated actor. He's even good in the Sonic films. I was like, yeah, he's good in this.
That's a joke in Jury Duty.
Yeah. Well, he's good. I thought he was perfectly fine in that film. It seems to me is that every time he's in something, he either gets killed or he gets completely forgotten about, and or he's the boyfriend that people don't care about.
Enchanted. He's the prince.
Enchanted. Yeah. Is he he's the idiot prince, isn't he? Enchanted? Yeah. Apocalypse. Mikey says he fell asleep during Apocalypse. It's pretty bad. Apocalypse. That's probably the worst one. I think that might that might be worse than The Last Stand, because there's some funny bits in The Last Stand. Like there's a lot of sass from Magneto that I just find quite amusing. He just becomes very sassy.
Yeah, you know who I liked? I liked The Multiple Man, which he later on played a doctor on Grey's Anatomy. I can't remember, but I really like the guy. The snarkiness of Multiple Man, and first I cringed when he said, "I'm the Juggernaut, bitch," but then as you watch it more and more, you're like, yeah, I'm waiting for that line.
I was like really excited about Vinnie Jones playing Juggernaut, and then he got like 3 lines.
Yeah. Oh well. I mean, who knows what they're doing with X-Men now? we still have no idea. And Rodney's saying, well, Jennifer Lawrence gave it up in X-Men Apocalypse. I think she gave up before that, to be honest. I think she was done.
Days of Future Past, I think.
Yeah.
I think everyone did.
At least I made it all the way, like you said, awake all the way through Days of Future Past, and I didn't manage to do that in Apocalypse.
I still haven't seen Apocalypse. I've seen like the first 20 minutes.
It's so boring. Yeah. That film is so boring, and it's just they were like the last X-Men films were just all kind of bad, apart from Days of Future Past, which I think is okay, and that's a Bryan Singer film.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the what was the one? So there was it Dark Phoenix?
Yep,
they did.
I've never seen that one either.
It's a very meh kind of movie, that one. And then they did I was really looking forward to the New Mutants, because I thought, oh, this is going to be kind of interesting and different, and it was not good at all.
Yeah.
I still haven't seen that either.
Dark Phoenix, you sat there the whole time. If this had James Marsden and Famke Janssen in it, it would be great, but it doesn't, so it's not.
Right.
I don't know why they were so obsessed with trying to get the Apocalypse, like do the Phoenix storyline, like the Dark Phoenix storyline. They did it twice. It's like, why did you have to do that twice?
Money.
Fan service.
But it's not even that good a storyline. The Dark Phoenix is not. It's not that interesting.
It was a big deal when it happened for several reasons. It was when X-Men was becoming the biggest selling book. It was selling like 250,000 copies a month or something like that. Plus, Claremont let it be known that he had a big fight with Jim Shooter about it, and so the Dark Phoenix storyline came about because they had killed the Carrot people, so Jean had to die. That was an editorial edict.
Oh,
so
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, and now they have to make 2 movies about it.
Yeah.
Oh well. I suppose we should move away from. Actually, there was some Marvel news that we can go over. So it was revealed that apparently Marvel Studios, before they cast Robert Downey Jr., they actually offered the role of Iron Man to Clive Owen, but he passed.
I didn't know that. I knew Cruise was attached to it for a while, but Clive Owen passed?
Cruise was attached to it, but they never offered him the role. And Tom Cruise actually said that there was never actually any official offer from them. I think they already knew they probably couldn't afford him.
Right.
And this is by it came from the direct. They're saying that they heard that Clive. Actually, no, it was directly from Kevin Feige. Was said that our first choice for the role was Clive Owen, and yeah, it
makes a lot of sense.
It does. I actually think that would have been pretty good casting. I don't think it would have ended up being as iconic as the Robert Downey Jr. version. I think it the MCU probably wouldn't be what it is today without Robert Downey Jr. Because I just can't see Clive Owen having the patience and also the kind of the charisma really to carry the franchise the way Robert Downey Jr. did for so long.
He's a dark presence on the screen. That's why after he did what was that movie where he played the croupier and then that's cool, James.
Yeah, that's quite good. Oh, what's it called?
But that he was on the short list for Bond. He was on the short list for Bond after that, and
he would have been such a good Bond.
Yeah. I felt it was a mistake. I mean, I loved the Casino Royale, but I thought, well, I keep thinking, wow, what Clive Owen would have done with that kind of material.
Yeah, I mean, Children of Men is one of my favorite films ever, and I think he's brilliant in it. I love The Nick as well, the series that he was in, and I feel like
the series dies when he leaves.
Yes, it really does.
He's great in Inside Man.
Oh, another one of my favorite films. That's such a good film.
If they cut 20 minutes out of Inside Man, it would be the best caper movie ever.
How come no one's mentioned Shoot 'Em Up yet?
Shoot 'Em Up's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a great Looney Tunes, Bugs Bunny and Elmer Fudd cartoon.
Yeah, and Sin City.
That's a great way to describe it.
Yeah, it is. He was also in the Bourne Identity. Kind of forget.
Well, he's eating carrots, right?
Yeah.
And Paul Giamatti is Elmer Fudd. That's Watch next time. Watch it and with those 2 characters in mind, and you'll see it.
Yeah. But yeah, he actually, if you look at his career, Sin City is bloody amazing. Like if you watch that again, I honestly, but I think it might be a product of its time. That if you rewatch it now, it might be a bit dated. But when I watched it, I was quite young when I watched it. I haven't watched it again since, but I remember just being blown away by that movie. But it might have been my age.
It's visually stunning. It's narratively lacking.
And
then
then there's Michael Madsen's performance and Bruce Willis's voiceover that you just got to get over to enjoy it.
I really like. Was it Mickey Rourke in that?
Yep.
I really liked him in that, and Elijah Wood, and it's a bit of an insane film. But and it introduced everybody to Jessica Alba.
In the States, she was in a Fox TV series called Dark Angel before she did that.
Yes, she was. Yes. I do remember that series actually.
James Cameron.
What was it? James, what was that?
James Cameron's Dark Angel.
Yes, it was a Cameron TV show. Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, Spooky wants to watch that, and I have never seen it, so we're going to start watching it sometime next month.
Very good. That was just a bit of news that I thought was really interesting, like the fact that because there were so many names attached to the role at the time, and I don't think Robert Downey Jr. was anywhere near the top of Marvel's list, but it was Jon Favreau that kind of pushed that one through.
Downey was one movie out of prison by that time, I think.
Yeah, he was.
He only got that movie because Mel Gibson wrote a check to cover the insurance bond for him.
Yeah. So I always thought that was. I mean, it would be really interesting to see what would have happened had they cast Clive Owen. But I have to say, Clive Owen's career since that time has kind of been on a downward trajectory for some reason.
I don't understand what the problem is. Is it the choices he makes, or is it because it seems like when he gets a part like the Nick, he was brilliant, and when he left the series, I found myself not giving a shit about it anymore.
Yeah. And it's like he now does. I mean, I noticed in the UK especially, he does a lot of he did a lot of ads for basically cryptocurrency. It wasn't really. I think it was like cryptocurrency wallets or something, and it was like stock investments and things like that. And it was some sort of platform, and he was doing all these ads for it. And I was just like, oh my god, like his career. It really upsets me because I think he's such a good actor, and he just. I don't know. He just never really took off the way I think a lot of people thought he was going to.
Yeah, no. When that movie hit, he was the next big thing, and everybody talked about him constantly.
Yeah, he would have been such a good Bond. The more I look at him, the more he's just perfect for that role.
He looks like Hoagie Carmichael, who in the books Ian Fleming says that's what Bond resembles, and
the more I think about it, the more I'm like, oh, that's such a shame. He would have been perfect. I think he's better suited for that role than Tony Stark, but I'm not surprised they were looking at him at the time. Also, because I reckon he would have been relatively cheap for Marvel, which is I think the main reason why they didn't go for someone like Tom Cruise, because even at the time he would have been box office. So that would have. I mean, Marvel was basically broke.
Yeah,
so I don't think they would have been able to do it.
They were trying to make an independent film.
Yeah.
And I kind of wish they'd go back to that because they made a lot more interesting stuff when they were doing that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. Have you seen Guardians 3? Yeah,
no.
Have you had the chance? No.
No.
I will say that as far as I'm concerned, that film is one of the better Marvel films that have come out in a long time. I enjoyed that movie, but I'm a bit of a sucker for James Gunn, so.
Yeah, people are saying it saved the franchise now, like saved the Marvel franchise.
I mean, I wouldn't say it saved the franchise. I just think it is a good ending for the Guardians franchise. I think the way I look at it is quite interesting because I go and see all the Marvel movies, right? And as you've got the Guardians in front of all of us, and my wife will only go and see selected ones, and the ones she tends to select are the Guardians movies. Because for her, they offer her something very different to the rest of the Marvel films. We went to see Thor: Love and Thunder together, and we both thought that film was crap, like really, really bad. And then this film, we came out of it, and Alessia was like, "This is just a good movie." She's like, "Maybe a bit long." Sorry, my computer's doing something weird.
Did you find any? Was there any like parts in the movie that made you like, with no spoilers for Shaun or anyone in the audience? Let us know if you've seen Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 in the audience. Press F in the chat. Anyways, what did you find any like wince-inducing moments, any cringe-inducing moments in the movie at all?
There was one moment that I was a bit like, "Ooh, that I would have redone that shot," when they're all running to something and all together in a line. And Chris Pratt says his line, and it's literally just like, "We have to go and do this and do that and save the." It's almost like we have to go and save the princess.
He said that like he said lines like that 4 times in the movie.
I think Chris Pratt's delivery in the film was there are parts of the movie where I was a bit like, "Oof, that it seems very like almost like they just like, let's just scrap this. We've got one take that we can use, because he was very wooden in certain parts.
But you can get away. Sorry, Edward, but you can get away without one time saying we got to go save our friend. You know, but when he says it for everything they're gonna do 4 times in a row, and they just change up a little bit, it's just like, oh, it's like when Jeff Johns wrote Green Lantern saying the Justice League's got this. I was like, oh no, no thank you.
Like with Pratt, it's, you know, you only get so many takes before he has to go get a hot dog.
I do wonder about his ability. I think he's very likable. That's the thing that he brings to the characters, a likability. And they try to go a bit darker with his character here, but it didn't quite work, because he's kind of a soppy idiot. I think that's kind of the whole thing behind his character.
But his ingenuity shines through, though.
Yeah,
yeah.
They're really
smart brain, Shaun.
Yeah,
smart brain shines through.
There are really good moments.
Wait a minute, I got to write that down.
Yeah, it's a smart brain. Ingenuity equals smart brain. I think the standout for me in the movie is Rocket Raccoon. Every scene involving him, the flashbacks and even the bits where he's older, he really steals it. And it's a CGI character that steals the show.
The 3D artist really stole it?
Yes. Well, yes. Yeah, honestly, and the writing behind that character is very good. And it's obviously what Gunn was more interested in, was that character, was Raccoon. And I have to say, probably one of the best villains we've seen in a long time in the MCU.
Yeah, actually. Yeah. It didn't seem like it was forced, or I have to overact to show how badass my villain is.
He
really embodied the role. So the
Chuck
high
Woody.
evolutionary.
Chuck Woody he's a very good actor. And he's obviously a Gunn favorite, because he's used him in his last 2 projects. I wouldn't be surprised if he brings him over to Superman Legacy, actually. When Gunn is talking about he's like, there'll be at least one Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 cast member that's going to be in Superman Legacy. I think Chuck Woody's going to be one of them, because he's not tied to any Marvel contracts anymore.
Why are they doing that?
Right.
You know, why aren't they signing these things up? I don't get it.
What do you mean?
If you've got a competitor, sign the actor to a non-compete, like Disney used to do with people.
Yeah, no, Marvel can't. Marvel doesn't dish out the big bucks for contracts. If you're an established actor, then you're only going to get 1 film, maybe 2. But that's like, they learned the lesson when RDJ renegotiated his contract and helped all the other cast members of the Avengers renegotiate their contract.
Well, it's their fault. They only signed him for 3. In the first one, he had a profit participation.
So after that, Marvel decided, okay, we need to sign everyone up for 6 movies.
Right.
And then, but that was kind of failing because a lot of them were unknown actors or whatever. It didn't really take off a lot, or it was slow moving because of the pandemic and Disney Plus, whatever have you. But now they want, like Feige said, he wants bigger directors.
Yeah,
and they're going to bring in these big actors like Christian Bale in Thor 4 and Chuck Woody and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. It's just, they're not going to shell out that much dough to lock him into a multi-picture contract. And you know what? They kind of did that. Did they lock in Kang the Conqueror?
Yes.
Yeah, it kind of bit them in the ass.
Yeah.
That will cost them a shit ton, because I'm going to say now, I think he's going to lose that case. The more I think about it, the more I think he's going to lose.
And everyone's mad that Marvel's like dropping him, or his agents drop him, but they dropped James Gunn over those tweets. And then what I think happened with that is they dropped James Gunn over the tweets, made sure that the Fox acquisition went through smooth, and then brought James Gunn back.
We'll also let him. He also was probably like, well, I can go off and do a DC movie.
Right.
Well,
and then he did. Yeah. And Jonathan Majors is like,
this is a completely different kettle of fish.
He seems like he's radioactive now.
Yeah, he is.
But I'm saying that those are accusations. Like nothing's proven in court yet. That's what.
No.
Yeah, but like I think Edward was saying last week, if the DA and stuff are lining up this hard against him, they've got a pretty good proof.
It's really difficult to prove sexual assault allegations, and DAs and police forces don't. The Met in London, for instance, never goes through with it unless they have very, very clear evidence and they know that they're going to win. So honestly it doesn't look good for him, and it's annoying because I actually think he's a very talented actor. Like it's a shame that these actors also have to be human beings, and a lot of them are also shit people. So you wish they could just be blank canvases.
Well, when we were first together was when all the Harvey Weinstein thing was coming out, and my partner was asking me why there's so much of this in show business. And I said, well, I don't know that it's more than it is in other business, but with show business, you have to realize that you've got an entire industry made up of people who don't take no for an answer, who are told no multiple times every single day, and they somehow break through. So you're sort of building an industry where this kind of stuff is sort of prone to happen. But I read the Harvey Weinstein book last week, and I was speechless. I was just stunned.
Which one? The one by Ronan Farrow?
No, the good one. No.
I tried reading that, and I just halfway through I was like, I can't finish this.
Yeah,
he's very full of himself.
Yeah, I'll look it up. But Hollywood Ending, Ken Aluda, and I was just I had to put the book down and get away from it because I couldn't believe what I was reading.
Yeah, it's honestly some of the stories that come out, especially. There's the Italian actress, I think, who was the one that they tried to. They got her to put a wire on.
Yeah.
Oh God, the stuff that they got out of that, but they still didn't do anything.
Yep.
Honestly,
yep. But you have an industry where people, writers, directors, actors, everybody's told no all the time.
Yeah.
So when you finally get a little power, people start to crack. And I'm not saying it's an excuse, but I'm saying that could be one reason for it.
Yeah, well, power corrupts absolutely, and if you, I mean, we were talking about Luc Besson at the beginning. It's exactly the same with him. It's that these, and you could talk about other directors as well. It happens a lot. I do think there's an element of like an all boys club as well to Hollywood, where they just think a lot of these men just think they've got all this power and they can do whatever they want and there won't be any repercussions, because for such a long time there weren't.
Right.
There weren't any. They got away with it for so long. So it's not. I don't think it's quite the same with Jonathan Majors, because I mean he was a kind of up and coming actor at the time, and these allegations go quite far back, all the way back to him being at was it? I can't remember what university he went to. What was it? Juilliard? Did he go there? I can't remember.
The Juilliard's in New York.
Yeah, he either Juilliard or New. I can't. Well, it was a New York based
or Yale.
Oh, it was Yale. No, it was It was Yale. He was at Yale. A lot of stuff coming out about him at Yale. I mean, it's put Marvel in a really difficult position because they're going to have to wait until this thing's over until they can really make any sort of decision on what to do with Jonathan Majors. But I'm pretty sure they're already lining up a replacement for him. I'd be very surprised if they're not.
Right. When they're casting Galactus, they're saying, so if you don't want Galactus, we might have this available.
Yeah. Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if they. And I mean, the thing is that they've kind of pinned a lot of their the future of the MCU on Kang. So it's going to be tricky for them. They can always recast and say it's a variant.
Yeah. I mean, they've set up for it to work just fine with a different one. But it is a shame because he's really interesting on screen. He's this big muscular guy who looks like a thug from the neck down and looks like a college professor, and talks like one from the neck up. It's an interesting presence.
Yeah, it honestly it is. He was the best thing about Ant-Man 3. I think everyone said it at the time, and that's not going to change. So yeah. What else? Do we have anything in the chat? Rajnish is in the chat saying the film industry is often locked off and hard to get into, so the resilience to rejection is built, but not sure if it carries over to being a shitty person.
I've only got 30 years in the industry, so what do I know?
Yep.
I mean, not everybody's like that, but I knew people. I mean, the stuff I've heard and seen, stuff flying across rooms and things like that. You get some different kinds of folks in there than I've seen elsewhere.
Okay, Rodney brings up an interesting point. Jeremy Renner's ex-wife said he pulled a gun on her and their daughter and threatened to kill them during court in 2000. He threatened to kill them during court in 2019. That'd be very. Marvel gave him a Hawkeye show. Marvel is going to wait with Jonathan Majors. The Jeremy Renner stuff was a bit weird because it kind of. I remember there being a lot of talk about it, and then it suddenly went away. I don't know whether the ex-wife kind of recanted
or got money or
yeah. Made recanting worth her while.
Yeah, I am not sure about that one. I don't really know. Who's the actor that had a lot of problems with his ex-wife?
Lee Majors.
Lee Majors.
Not Lee Majors. Lee Marvin.
No, a British actor that I think he won an Oscar. Oh, Gary Oldman. Gary Oldman. I think Gary Oldman's wife is I think she's isn't she in an institution now?
Really?
I think his ex-wife, and I think it was his son, because she was saying a lot of stuff about him, and it was his son that came out and said everything that she says is a lie. And like literally, Gary Oldman, he raised me. My mother was never there, and so they're always the thing is what I'll say about the Jeremy Renner thing is there are always two sides to every story. There are three sides to every story.
Yeah.
Your story, my side, and the truth. Yeah.
So unfortunately, I don't think we really know what happens there, and that kind of and now Jeremy Renner's got a lot of sympathy after being run over by a snowplow. So I think he's Teflon, quite literally.
Well, I think the difference is that there weren't charges filed, right?
Yeah.
Like these were accusations in court, and then once, right or wrong, I'm not saying this is right or wrong, but I'm saying that what the thinking of the studios is, once you've got charges filed, then that's more than he said, she said. That's something that could be real trouble.
Yeah, I seem to remember it was part of a custody battle for the daughter.
I think that's what.
And I think
that's what Rodney was saying, that like during the court battle,
is
when Renner did that, and I don't know, and I think maybe he did a lot of PR after that.
Yeah,
I mean, I know he had he has his own band or something. He likes to sing.
Yeah,
and his career's never really taken off like you would think it would have.
Well, he's pretty big now with like the mayor of Easttown and everything.
Yeah,
that's a hit show.
I actually think Jeremy Renner is a very understated actor, and I like his performances a lot. He's really good.
Oh my God,
Wind River.
Yeah,
I love Wind River. I love that movie, and there were several scenes. I didn't think the Hawkeye show held together really well, but I thought his interior life, which came across the screen so well, of being this guy who's not the superpowered guy and yet somehow survived all that stuff. There's the scene where he's watching the musical, and it's like, it's funny, but then there's a shot of him in the audience, and it's clear that these are my friends, and some of them are dead now.
Yeah,
and when he looks at the monument, it's clear that this guy, things have happened.
He was great in The Hurt Locker.
Yeah. Nobody talks about that, and that was him and Anthony Mackie.
But any film that Catherine Bigelow does is great. So
Yeah, I love her movies, and I don't know. If you want to talk about why there's problems in Hollywood and what they do, is like, why isn't she one of the bigger directors around? Why is she somebody who's, either she's choosing to make these films, or these are the films that she can get?
I think she chooses. I think she's choosing what she wants to make. I think she could right after Point Break, like no problem. So. Hey, do you guys remember what the thumbnail is about?
Yeah, we did mention him.
Wait,
okay.
Who is that guy?
We're an hour in.
Is that Kevin Feige?
It's
That's the DC Kevin Feige.
Oh.
He's some troll on Twitter that likes to ruin the lives of scoopers.
I didn't think Zack Snyder looked like that at all.
Well, that's the thing. You don't know. Well, no one knows what Zack Snyder looks like, and no one understands his movies. Not even Zack Snyder.
Yeah. Well, and then he said online. There was some interview this week where the problem is people didn't understand my movies. Yeah, that's right. We're not smart enough for your movies. That's the problem. So James Gunn and Superman.
Well, we have. Do you want to read this McLeod comment, Shaun? Edward?
Yeah, go on and put it up.
Yeah. Okay. He wrote it. Go ahead.
Not gonna lie, I absolutely hate this back and forth bitch fest between the more cynical non-comic book readers and the comic book fans over who Superman should or shouldn't be. Whoa. Okay. You can have the more grounded and deconstructiveness. So I think that's a new word of Snyder's Cavill Superman, as well as Donner's Reeves happy and hopeful version. Okay. We can have both. Well, I should probably shout that. I'm not going to shout that, but that's it's in all caps. And after watched Guardians 3, as well as how Gunn handled that Guardians trilogy and the Suicide Squad in general, I am confident that Gunn will do right by Superman. Yes.
Yeah.
I agree. I do agree that you can have multiple versions of a character. That's perfectly fine. But I think the problem that a lot of people had with it wasn't with Henry Cavill. It was with the writing of the character.
Yeah. I don't get how you can claim that was deconstructive. It was just a clumsy Superman origin. I don't know how it deconstructed it at all.
Well, I mean, that movie has a lot of fans. Man of Steel movie, but I don't think it's a Superman movie. It's not really, for me. It was never. I mean, I get it. You can have two versions of a character.
Yeah,
that's completely fine. But it's they had a go with it, and in the end, it didn't quite work out. Which is, I know there are a lot of people that want to see Henry Cavill return. I do as well, but I'd like to see Henry Cavill return and get to do something different. I'd like to see him do that hopeful version. I think he could have done it. But now I am very, after listening to what James Gunn has been saying, he said he said it's one of his favorite comic book movies of all time was the 1978 Superman movie, which is a good one.
Yeah,
and I think he kind of has a better grasp on what the original version of the character was supposed to be than Zack Snyder did.
Yeah, if people like Man of Steel, like Snyder's work, that's fine. I don't have any problem with people who like it. I just don't like it, and I don't like this sort of like we're going to wrap ourselves in some kind of pseudo intellectualism and make it seem like this is a higher movie when it's just, to me, it's just clumsy filmmaking. And if it's something that somebody likes, that's God bless. I mean, I'm not angry about that. I'm not like, it's not like high school where it's like, you like the Jam, you suck. It's people, everybody to their own kick, as a great American comedian Dave Gardner said. But it felt cynical, and I don't think that's what Superman is. I think that from my experience, what they keep trying to do is turn Superman into Batman somehow, and they don't get that they're two sides of the same coin. That Batman's what happens when your heart is broken, and Superman's what happens when your heart is full.
Which actually, we were talking about Bryan Singer before, but one of his films, he did a Superman movie, didn't he?
Yeah.
Superman Returns.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I think he got closer to that version than Zack Snyder did with Bryan.
He was pretty clearly trying to make a sequel to it.
He just emulated Richard Donner.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Straight out, even with the opening credits.
Yeah. Yeah.
I watched Batman v Superman: The Ultimate Edition a couple days ago.
All 5 hours of it.
Yeah, well, it was 3 hours, and it's the first time I'd seen it. And it made the movie good. Batman v Superman, I saw in the theaters, but then I watched, and I hadn't seen it since. And then this one, The Ultimate, I was like, a lot of this stuff actually makes sense now. They should have just released it as that for 3 hours. They shouldn't have been chickens.
What about it? What about it was better? Do you think?
Luthor's motivation, how Batman and Superman met up to fight. There was more clarity on what happened with Doomsday. I noticed the Jolly Rancher scene was cut out. I mean, you still see the Jolly Rancher, but the whole scene was cut out, so that was nice. Where he puts it in the guy's mouth or whatever. Actually, no, he put it in, but talking about Jolly Ranchers was cut out. It just added more context. I mean, there's still a lot of stuff. It was like, okay, that shot's been held on too long. That shot's been held on too long. Why does that need to be slow motion? But I actually enjoyed it instead of just watching Batman v Superman in the theater and just like, this is not really what I want to see of the two characters that I really like.
Right. I remember having such a bad time with Batman versus Superman in the cinema, literally thinking, why have they done this? Like that's I mean, I haven't watched the Ultimate Edition. Maybe I have to, I don't know. But then I just had such a bad experience with that one, it was almost 3 hours. It was 2.5 hours long.
Mm-hmm.
That film.
That's why it took me 7 years, Edward.
Yeah. Maybe it's something, but I just remember sitting, almost pulling my hair out watching that movie, being like, why have they chosen to make that? I can't remember off the top of my head now what the decisions they made were that annoyed me so much, but I do remember just thinking,
I can tell you, my kid and I watched it with pizza and laughed ourselves silly. We couldn't at home. We just couldn't understand. I don't know, to begin with, why do you do that for your first movie of them meeting and your pretty much second movie of this trilogy? Why are you going to destroy it all before you've even set it up? Why do you swipe the Dave Johnson Red Sun evil Superman sequence for this? You're just picking up somebody else's images and throwing them in here because you think they're cool, but it doesn't really make much sense for Bet Manikoff to show up. Why bring Doomsday in? You don't have enough time between these movies for Superman to become such a worldwide thing that the world depends on, that his death will have any impact.
Yeah.
The thing that worked about Death of Superman in the comics, and it's not one of my favorite comics, but the thing that worked is that you had the assumption at that time that Superman had been around for a long time and that the world had come to depend on him. If there's a ship sinking, well, we don't need to worry about it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just remember feeling like they let down a lot of the characters and the actors that were involved in the movie, because I really do think that Ben Affleck he drew a very short straw with the theatrical version of that film. I think Henry Cavill did as well, and it's not all, for me, it wasn't all down to Zack Snyder, but I do think sometimes some of the decisions he makes, he chooses style over substance.
Mm-hmm.
And he's done that in all of his movies. We've got to be honest. It's like, you can love I love 300. I think it's a very fun movie, but there are problems in there as well that has to do with that. He's very much like, I want this to look cool. He doesn't really care about. He will say he does, but I don't think he really thinks that much about the impact that this scene might have on the overall film. I don't think he's very good at story beats.
I don't think he understands story, and I don't think he understands character arcs.
Yeah,
and how they impact each other.
Yeah. Whereas I think someone like Gunn does understand that stuff.
Yep.
Even though sometimes I think some of his writing, I do think some of Gunn's dialogue can be a bit suspect. Sometimes it can sound a bit too much like James Gunn. there's kind of sometimes he struggles a bit, I think, sometimes to differentiate between himself and like the lead character sometimes. Which is a lot of writer directors do that. I think Quentin Tarantino does the same thing, but people love that because that's what they want to watch.
We call it the Aaron Sorkin problem.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly what it is. Aaron Sorkin problem. It's the same thing that I say about one of my mates, that he makes movies. That I'm always like, the problem is when he writes and directs them, the lead character is him.
That's a perfect expression of how I feel.
Yeah.
I agree, though. I agree. I agree 100% with what you're saying. I also agree that with what Johan said, but I don't think it's going to be a by the number crossover movie. I think it's going to be a by the number Superman, knowing who Superman is.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm sorry, Johan, but
I think he's talking
Guardians has stuck in people's minds for several years.
Mm. Well, what did you say, James?
I think he's talking about when DC eventually does a crossover movie,
which is not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
Well, not Marvel versus DC.
Well, DC crossover with itself.
Like all the solo movies are setting up, and then they'll all cross over.
Yeah.
But it's just comments like this that make me wonder. Like, yeah, we've seen his work in the Guardians films, and we've seen Slither, and we've seen Super, Peacemaker, right? But is that enough to automatically assume what his films are going to be like in DC Studios, where he's coming in as the guy that can control everything and have his own vision down there? Is his body of work enough to okay, that's what it's going to be like? You know, it's going to please everyone on Twitter. And I just think that's short-sighted to automatically assume what his films are going to be like. And hasn't even one day of principal photography yet.
I think this Superman film is going to be wildly different to everything he's done before.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know if it's going to be wildly different, but I think it's going to be different.
No, I think it'll be wildly different. I think, because he's
never done anything like this.
No, and it'll be his one out of the gate. You know what I mean? Like he's got to have a splash. It's got to be perfect.
Yeah,
it's got to, Superman is a hard character to get right on screen. Everyone else has all their own different ideas of how Superman should be. And I think Gunn will knock it out of the park. I think he'll do a good job. And I just have this vision of like brightness and hopeness, and then some jokes and stuff in there. But I don't think it's going to be cheesy or any like dick or fart jokes or anything like that.
Well, that's what the first, once again, because I'm elderly, I remember going to see Superman in movie theaters, and I don't think everybody remembers what it was like when like the best superhero show you had on television was The Incredible Hulk. And that was the best thing any of us had ever seen by that time, or maybe Superman and the Mole Men, which actually is not a bad 1950s science fiction movie. So when Superman the movie came out, it was just like an earthquake, both in it was such a big hit, and it hit in fandom because it was they get it, they're taking it just seriously enough. And and I remember people crying in the theater when Jor-El puts the baby in the rocket ship, and I remember a girl just sobbing uncontrollably when Lois died. I mean, that was a movie that had a real impact on the audience.
Yeah.
And it seems hokey now, and there's scenes in it now that there's some of the special effects hold up, and some are a little but at the time it just changed the way everything was done, and it was such a big change that it was 11 years before we got Batman.
Yeah.
So I think that's what Gunn is capable of doing. I think love or hate Snyder, Snyder's very good at a stylistic filmmaking, and that's not what those projects needed. It didn't need style. It needed some kind of heart to it, and he's really bad at that.
Yeah. Something he's just never been able to get right.
Yeah. So Raz says that's what the fears for the audience. Gunn will make a dick and fart jokey Superman. Hopefully.
No.
Do you really think he's going to do that with Superman?
Yeah,
His
I don't
first
think
film under DC Studios that he's like. I don't.
No, I think the fear of the audience is that it's going to be light and fun, and it's not going to be gritty. I mean, and realistic. Everybody thinks gritty and realistic is the way to go.
Raj is talking more like what he's read
on Twitter.
Yeah, and like from those fans, mostly probably from like the Snyder movement. They're all like, because they've seen Peacemaker and Suicide Squad, but that fits for those kind of characters. Same with Guardians of the Galaxy, because they're misfits. And Johan says his tweets really tell me he'll try to please all the folks who have cried about their dream Superman for 10 years.
Well, yeah, that's his job. That's what they hired. That's what they hired him to do. Your job is to make a movie that millions of people will go spend money for.
Yeah, and his job is also, because he's chosen to interact with fans on Twitter and the audience on Twitter, to get them hyped for it and to be positive about it. He's not. He's one of those. He's taking a new page out of the book of CEO and filmmaker by really interacting with the fans on his Twitter, and I actually enjoy that. There's a lot less frustration for the fans that way. I mean, like Zack Snyder, he has Vero, and he just likes posts, or he'll post an image, and with the turkey and a comic book, he's like, "Here, make it out," or you'll post a poster, and then fans will decode it and say this says 10 different things.
Yeah, he's being clever and deconstructionist again.
Yeah, but I think it's way too soon to start grumbling about James Gunn and his filmmaking style when he has this monumental task of heading DC Studios, and the first film coming out, not like the animation or anything, but like the first film coming out will be Superman Legacy.
Yeah.
And it'll be his first one, and he's got to knock it out of the park, and he's got to set the tone for the universe, or at least for Superman.
Yep.
And I think it'll be good, and I don't think that we should all it sucks that we're not getting the SnyderVerse back at DC Studios. It sucks.
No, it doesn't. It's fine.
It sucks that Snyder's not coming. No, I'm saying this to the people that are hurt and everything. But we've said this before, being lifelong DC fans, we're used to new iterations of the characters. We're used to new actors, right? We're used to new writers and directors. And that's fine with us. And I'm looking forward to a breath of fresh air, because the SnyderVerse was like hung up, and it stalled, and it sputtered, and it took off, and it stalled and sputtered and took off. At least we have 10 years of plans now for the DC universe. James Gunn is going to be in 4, maybe longer, but it was not. It was not
a particularly. I'm sorry, James, but it was not a particularly successful franchise. It did okay. It wasn't blowing the box office doors out, and you can say that's because the studio got their hands in it, but they said that about Orson Welles and the Magnificent Ambersons, and I've seen both the reconstructed Welles thing and the original's better. With some producers going in there and cutting stuff. That sometimes that happens, and it works, and we shouldn't just say, well, it was the director's work of art. No, this is commerce. This is show business. It's not show fancy. So
BVS Ultimate Edition should have been in theaters. I think it would have done a lot better, and the studio wouldn't have gotten so afraid of the reaction, because they didn't get the Marvel money, right? So
yeah, and I think part of that is, honestly, I will say where the studio was probably cowardly, and because of my knowledge of WB, is because they were afraid that kids won't like it. They're terrified about making something that's not for kids, and I'm surprised and I'm gratified that the Batman actually got through all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
True.
Johan says, "Good luck to Gunn if WB freaks out again."
Yeah, and put Rajneesh's up.
Yeah, I just want to respond to this quick.
Yeah, sorry.
I don't think they would have hired Gunn and locked him into that contract and Safran, and said, "Here, go with this." And then he presented his slate, and they said, "Yeah," and then they announced it. I don't think that they're gonna freak out, and a lot of that regime is gone. So
yeah, there's a lot of changes over there since then.
You never said it was a failed franchise. You said it just didn't do too well.
No, yeah, it's not a failed franchise. So Man of Steel had a budget of $225 million, and they spent $150 million marketing it. $150 million US. How is that not not giving a movie a chance? $150 million marketing. That's just marketing.
I think ultimately,
The ultimate.
yeah. But ultimately, I think we have to just address the elephant in the room, which is the fact that, we are not the general audience.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
General audiences did not react very well to Zack Snyder's vision for the DC DC universe, the DCU. They didn't go back to see the movie. Like there weren't really repeat viewings from general audiences the way you see with like movies like Avatar or movies like Avengers Endgame or movies like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which in its second week has had the lowest drop of any of the recent Marvel movies to have come out at the box office, because people are going back to see that movie at the cinema. And I think that there's a very vocal fan base online that's desperate for this to continue, but it's actually, I think we've got to, they've got to realize they're actually a minority. That these people, there is a minority of people that want this to continue, and I think I think it's I think James Gunn is the perfect person to get this to revamp this franchise, which is in desperate need of a revamp. Look at how badly Shazam 2 did. That is still and look how pretty badly Black Adam did as well. Those films are still kind of connected and tied to the old DC universe, to the SnyderVerse. That, I think, fundamentally, that is why those films didn't do so well, because people, the general audience, are pretty tired of that sort of thing from DC. They want something different.
Yeah. So can we put
Shaun.
the 170 million?
Yeah. 1 sec. General audience, and go see the Suicide Squad. I am tired of hearing this. It's in the middle of the
pandemic.
No one could go and see it.
and the streaming numbers on it were insane. Were absolutely insane.
Yeah. Okay. Product placement earned Man of Steel 170 before it came out. No, it didn't. That was built into the budget. And to say that is a studio going, look how much money we made by that. But that is built into the budget of the movie. So it's, and it didn't, so that means they were only down $590 million or something like that when the movie was released.
Snyder wasn't given a good chance to build his audience, so
he got 3 movies. He got 3 movies with hundreds of $1 million budgets. He got 3 movies.
He got 2 movies with tons of budgets and tons of big stars. The third movie got wrecked because they didn't have faith after BVS came out. But I agree with you.
Yeah,
and, top budget, top stars, top technology, everything.
The rule in Hollywood is that you get 2 failures before you get put in director's jail. It used to be 3, but now it's 2. And he got huge budgets, some of the biggest budgets for movies ever made. And he's not wondering where his next meal's coming from. He had a family tragedy, and then he got paid to develop a Star Wars movie that then he got to walk away with and sell to Netflix. It's not like the industry's out to get him.
No. And do you think people forget about Watchmen?
I've tried really hard to forget about
because that technically that is a DC movie.
Yeah.
And that they gave him that, and I can't off the top of my head remember how well. I actually really like that film. I think Watchmen is, out of all his DC films, is the best one he did.
We can't be friends anymore.
Yeah, no, I do. I went to the cinema and I was like, actually, they fixed the ending of that comic book in the movie. I think the ending is.
I enjoyed Watchmen, but.
I enjoyed
watching little shots. Held on too long, a little bit too much slow mo.
That's him. That's him.
No, I know. And we've talked about this. There's a clip on this channel out there talking about Watchmen and everything. But $185.4 million US dollars gross worldwide.
How much?
It made 185 million.
Watchmen.
Yeah.
185 million.
What was the budget?
138. I'm just trying to see if that's opening weekend.
So that's not a
So
movie
wait,
has to make 3 times its budget to make a profit.
That can't be right because that's like a total disaster.
It didn't do well, but they made a lot of excuses for it, and they thought he was stylish. They thought the material was way too challenging, even as you know, he took all the very obvious aspects of Watchmen and put them in the movie and left the less obvious stuff behind.
That is terrible.
Yeah.
This is like John Carpenter of Mars levels.
No, John Carter of Mars,
or
John Carpenter's Ghosts of Mars. You have to choose one of those. Edward, one of those failures.
I had John Carpenter on the brain from after all the Luc Besson stuff. John Carter of Mars. Okay, yeah, they spent a lot more on it.
Okay,
250 million.
Yeah,
it made 184.
Yeah.
So
I guess you don't understand how movies are made. Is that there is a representative from the studio on the set every fucking day. So there's not a problem with communication thing.
Should I read the comment out for the podcast?
Yeah, with BVS, all Snyder and the studio had to do was communicate with each other better by doing reshoots and taking certain stuff out, tell the story to void, making a 3-hour plus movie. Yeah.
That's not quite how it works.
Yeah.
But they did. They do reshoots. They did take out certain stuff, and they took out in that 30 minutes that they took out of BVS. They should have left that in because it explains so much and adds so much nuance and context to everything. Godzilla vs. Kong came out 2 months later, 468 million. I understand the pandemic, but TS should have pulled more than 100. Okay, but was Godzilla vs. Kong straight to streaming at the same time as?
Yeah, it was.
It was.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That film, yes, it is true that film did very, very well.
Okay, Godzilla vs. Kong did 100.9 million in the U.S. and I think it wasn't the Suicide Squad number we had just for the U.S. or was it worldwide?
I'm just looking at release dates right now. July 30th, so middle of the summer.
Yeah,
and then I guess Godzilla vs. Kong was 2 months later. Adrian said.
Yeah, it was. About,
September. Let's look at Suicide Squad budget. 185 million US dollars.
People looking at
68.
Do
worldwide.
I'm trying to figure out worldwide if this. I don't know if these numbers I'm looking at are US.
Oh, that's the old one.
That is true, actually. Yeah, the Suicide Squad did get crushed by Camelot, the movie in France.
Yeah,
I remember that. That film did really well. Just people really loved that movie in France.
I don't know what that movie is. What is it?
It's a French film, Camelot. I think it's like a continuation of a series that they then like made a movie. Johan might know more about that than me.
It is. It's a French Camelot medieval fantasy television series created, directed, written, scored, and edited by Alexandre Astier, who also stars as the main character. Based on the Arthurian legends, it follows the daily lives of King Arthur and the Knights of... Oh, that sounds brilliant.
Did very well. Yeah, I remember that being shown everywhere. There's actually, at the moment, the big film is the Three Musketeers. They're with Evergreen and Vincent Cassel, and it's got everyone in it. All the big French names, they're all in it, and it's 2 parts. So the first part's
just like the Lester one.
Yeah, so they've released the first part, and I think the second part's coming out in a couple of weeks. So they literally released them a few weeks from each other.
Is it any good? Because that's one of my favorite novels.
Apparently, it's very, very good. That's what I've heard. I haven't seen it yet because I haven't had the chance, but I do kind of want to see it.
James Gunn is going to do the American version of the Three Musketeers.
Yeah, he probably would do it as well.
Set it in the DC universe. I love the Three Musketeers. So sorry, I'm a big fan of Dumas, Père, and Frere.
Yes, I've been to his chateau, Alexandre Dumas. That's it. Yeah.
20 years after is the funniest adventure comedy novel ever written.
He's a bit of a legend.
So
pull me back. Stop me from doing college.
Godzilla versus Kong came out 5 months before the Suicide Squad.
Who? What?
Godzilla versus Kong came out 5 months before the Suicide Squad.
Was it before?
March 31st. And then July 30th was the Suicide Squad.
What year?
It was 2021.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think I've got a feeling that Johann's probably based in France as well. He seems to know a lot about what's going on in France. Three Musketeers Part 1 did okay in France. Mary got in the way of everything. It just took all the money. Yeah. So what are you looking up now, James? This is James.
I'm looking at the COVID numbers from March to July.
Oh my god!
Just seeing if that's an actual argument or not, or if it just did really bad.
No, they were probably going down.
There was an
everyone was on holiday. Just say that no one went to see Suicide Squad.
No, July 20th, there was a 12% increase in COVID cases. July 27th, there was an 8% increase in COVID cases. I don't know. I have to do it when we're not live just to check it out. It's interesting. So I remember like when the Batman came out and everyone on Twitter was like, this is not going to make $1 million. It's not going to make $1 billion or whatever. Yeah. And they're like, it's BVS has already beat it. But BVS was in the theater for 242 days and it made like 840 million. And the Batman was in the theater for 42 days and it made 740 million or something.
And I'm willing to bet that it was a much lower budget. So the budget to box office profit ratio. I mean, even Superman Returns did terrible, but it wound up making a profit of $3 million. But that was mostly from toys.
Yeah. I want to see this, by the way.
Yeah, I've heard it's quite good. I've heard it's
I saw the trailer a couple months ago. I forgot to tell you. It's like
I remember you did tell me about it.
Okay.
So Adrian says, if The Flash pulls $1 billion, what is the likelihood of a possible sequel happening in Elseworlds under DeLuca?
Is that confirmed that that's what DeLuca's new deal is?
I don't know,
because he got a big paycheck.
Well, I don't think that would happen anyway. I have
a Flash sequel.
The Flash, there won't be a Flash sequel. I don't think.
No,
I think what there probably would be is a continuation of that storyline in something else, probably, or it just kind of.
I'm trying to understand. Is the question here? Would Ezra come back, or like what's the question? Because we don't know if the Flash will have a sequel or not. We don't know what they're going to do with Ezra. I mean, if it makes a ton of money, and I think like they've even said this in interviews, like if it makes a lot of money, and we'll see how the audience reacts to Ezra being on screen, then we got
to see how his mental health is.
Yeah, and if his mental health is good, then you could see a Flash too. But like I'm trying to understand this question.
What we do know is that James Gunn wants Andy Muschietti to do another DC film after this. I personally don't think it would be a Flash sequel, but that's just me guessing. I don't know anything about. I think they might want to work on something different with him. They seem to really like him.
Here's the thing: if we got a Flash sequel, why would it have to be Elseworlds?
Yeah, it wouldn't.
I mean, they're doing the whole Flashpoint thing, so it just
because they're assuming that the which could be a good assumption for all we know, is that the Zack Snyder stuff is all whatever happened before is dead, and we're going to clean the slate now, which doesn't look like they're going to do. And also, you're assuming that, like, once again, this is a limited audience where we all care about interconnectivity and continuity and stuff like that. And 90% of the audience doesn't give a shit about stuff like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
I had big arguments with people, not fairly knowledgeable people, about the accomplishment of the first part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, starting with Iron Man and finishing with Endgame, and telling one complete story over 20 some odd movies. That's pretty impressive.
And to keep the general audience along with you.
Right.
You all know what the Marvel Cinematic Universe is fundamentally.
It's a soap opera for boys.
It's a telenovela.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's a telenovela, and that's what they took that they did that, and people watched those for years.
Yeah.
Or it's a comic book series, and they took it and put it on the screen, which people have read for decades.
Yeah.
I like the
Sorry,
telenovela.
I know you like your telenovela, but it's not happening today.
That's what people do. They literally tune in every day to watch the EastEnders or whatever they're watching in America. I don't know what the big ones are in America.
We don't get EastEnders here. We get Coronation Street on Canadian TV.
Do you get Emmerdale?
No. In America, it would be Succession or the Canadian show Degrassi, which James Gunn, I understand, is a huge fan of Degrassi: The Next Generation. I hear he's going to get Jimmy the Wheelchair Boy to play a major character in the DC universe.
Well, actually, should we talk about the casting rumors?
Well, so my friends are at the theaters, and they saw Wheels from Degrassi in the theater, and they go, "Hey, Wheels!" He goes, "My name's not fucking Wheels." Slammed the door and took off.
Right, so Superman Legacy casting rumors.
Yeah, I want to hear this.
Right, so the big one is...
One thing I do have to say about this is I saw a post where I can't remember what actor it was, and someone said, "Oh, it looks like a low rent Henry Cavill, however you say it."
Oh, the actor.
Yeah, someone said it looks like a low rent or a Wish version. And I said, well, I guess it depends upon where your biases lay.
I think it's a young George Reeves.
Well, what I actually can't pronounce this guy's name. David Corrin. Oh, actually, I can pronounce his name. I've never heard of him. David Corrinsweet. It's rather. He's the one that's reportedly the top contender to.
Yeah, that's
Superman.
the guy. That's the guy that they were talking about.
Yeah, he does. Do you want to see a picture of him? There's a picture.
Bringing it up. Yeah.
This is easy. He's a mashup between Cavill and Welling. He looks good, but the other big contender for the role of Lex Luthor in the movie is British actor Nicholas Hoult.
Oh, well, that's interesting.
Again, I can't remember. These are from the Hollywood Reporter. So they're the ones that, because they're casting it at the moment. James Gunn said only one role has been cast, and he said it was a pretty minor role. Then they're also talking about Lois Lane. So for Lois Lane, they've got the likes of apparently this is rumors again. Emma Mackey from Sex Education, British French actress. She's very good. Basically a lookalike for Margot Robbie. Phoebe, is it Dynevor? I think from Bridgerton. I don't know how you pronounce that name.
I know.
Samara Weaving from Ready or Not. If you ever watch Ready or Not, she's good. And my personal favorite, Rachel Brosnahan.
Oh,
Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Oh, that could be fun.
The thing that people have said about her is she's very close in age to Amy Adams. So people are like, oh, well, why if you're going to get her, why don't you just cast Henry Cavill?
And Samuel Jackson was only 5 years younger than Richard Roundtree, and they when he played Shaft. So
it does. The thing is, like as long as they're all of age, I don't think age. If they look good together on screen, then it's fine.
It's not a Luc Besson movie.
Yeah, it's not. Yes, exactly. But apparently, so Adrian says that Gunn has already debunked the Hollywood Reporter. Would he debunk the Hollywood Reporter?
No. Adrian said he hasn't debunked.
Oh, he hasn't. Oh, I misread that. So he hasn't He hasn't. Of course, he bloody wouldn't. He wouldn't dare. He only debunks people that spout bullshit. And Grace Randolph. Constantly, anything she says, he's like, I've never heard of this actor. Who was the actor that she was saying? Oh, there was quite a well-known actor that she was saying is up for the part. I can't remember his name now. Someone in the chat might know. And James, don't do that. Don't bring everyone else back in, James, please. please. There, thank you very much. Yeah, I can't remember his name because it was just like, if you left it on there, like it just would have been me going, I can't remember his name. I can't remember his name. But he's an actor, and then James Gunn was like, I've never heard of this guy, and I felt really bad for the actor. I was like, well, that's a massive slice on the actor.
Not only are you not getting cast, but they're not even aware of you.
Yeah, it's like who? He's in that Amazon Prime show Hunters, the one where
Al Pacino doing the really bad accent.
Yeah. Oh, I got it. Okay, now that I remember that he's in that, I've got to remember his Hunters series. This man looks up stuff on the internet. Logan Lerman, that's his name. He was the one that was like linked to it early on because of Grace Randolph, and apparently he's never heard of Logan Lerman, and obviously Shaun has never heard of him either.
That's Percy Jack. That's Percy Jackson.
Percy Jackson, yeah, he played Percy Jackson.
Oh, okay. Well, Nicholas Hoult to me isn't the Beast. Nicholas Hoult to me will always be the kid from About a Boy.
Oh, so good. That film is so good. Yeah. That's actually probably one of Hugh Grant's best movies.
It really is. It really is. It's so well written and performed, and they're both great in it.
Yeah, they're really, really good. Adrian says hasn't he debunked Deadline before? I'm not sure. That would have surprised me if he did that. He might have debunked some of the stuff about like early on when he was just announced as the DC Studios head. Like there may be. Yeah, and Adrian says he's more curious about Swamp Thing. I'm very curious about that movie.
Yeah.
So that movie is James Mangold directing it. So we don't know when he's going to do it.
Let me remind you, going back to my talk about being elderly, that after Superman the movie, we got the Swamp Thing movie. So it was a really dark time in the 80s, guys, for nerds.
We haven't covered much Superman and Lois, but we did interview Jonathan Kent.
Yeah. He was wearing this. He was wearing this exact top that I realized when I was rewatching the thing. I was like, I have the same bloody top as like a 13. You know, he's not 13. How old is he? Probably about 16.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the show I've never watched, so I don't tend to cover it personally. But is it that it's moving over to? Is it still going on or something?
Yeah.
It might be moved over to HBO Max.
Yeah.
I like it. I watched it the first 2 seasons, and I liked it a lot. Especially I love the beginning. I love the concept of it, but it doesn't need so much superhero stuff in it. It doesn't need to keep adding new heroes and new villains. It needs to. This is the same argument I had with Smallville, and when I was at Warner's, I actually had the argument with them. It's like you every teenager in the universe thinks they are the biggest freak in the world, and Clark Kent literally is. And you can build a series out of that. You don't need to have new bad guys showing up every week. And, Lois and Clark is a great soap opera about 2 people with weird professions trying to raise children. And they should concentrate on that more and not, I think we're bringing in more people from Krypton. And here's his mother, and here's his father, and here's his brother. And then, we've got Steel coming from another dimension. Like, it's too much. It's losing the focus on what really works in it, which is really good performances and a really good family dynamic. There you go.
Yeah, it's the
William
same.
Shatner and all those people like backstage at all the Comic-Cons and whatnot. But I certainly understand like the whole little geek culture because I was such a big part of it. I still am.
Yeah.
Proof.
I'm such a, he's like 13 years old, and he's going on about being. When I was a kid, shut up.
He's 19. Dude. He's 19.
He looks very young.
Yeah.
19.
19. I couldn't cross the street by myself when I was 19.
Yeah.
Really? Oh, did you know? That's Henry Cavill.
Did we figure that out?
Oh, that's probably been leaked now. I don't know, but
I thought you were going to say that's Vin Diesel's neck.
He's got hair. It's not Vin Diesel.
It really should have been Sung Kang. That's all I'm saying.
Right. I think that's everything.
Okay.
I think that's everything. I think we can let everyone go. I think
We had a GoFundMe to talk about.
Oh, we do.
Oh, I wanted to mention that. Yeah.
Yes.
So
Bring
Len.
it up here.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So Len Kaminsky, who anybody who's into comics should know, he worked at Malibu, Marvel, DC. He worked everywhere. He's one of the co-creators of War Machine, turning James Rhodes into War Machine. Was in a car accident last year, and he's in a care home, which apparently is not taking very good care of him and has drained his bank accounts. So there's a GoFundMe, and anybody who can contribute really should. And this is on Facebook. It's on my social media. Please check it out. And this is, we talked about thanks, James. We talked about it a little bit last week about the Writers Guild and what writers don't get paid. And, my thing is there are no executives from this period who have to do a GoFundMe to get $10,000 for their healthcare costs. But this guy created a character that's in the movies. Yeah. And, it happens
a lot
struggling
to creators in the comic industry. It's very sad.
Yeah. The comic industry is not taking care of its own. So please, if you can help out a good guy in a hard place, please do so. And, think about that these movies are all created by people who, the characters and the situations are created by people who have to fight like cats and dogs to get even the smallest payment. Mm-hmm. If you want to check out Jerry Conway's Twitter from last year, he talks a little bit about Marvel and DC and what they do and do not pay him for doing things like creating the Punisher. So
like Ed Brubaker got like $10,000 for his Bucky storyline,
right?
The Winter Soldier,
right? And they said, "Oh, but we're going to put you in the movie."
Yeah, and he had a speaking role, which he thought it would make him set for life, but no, they cut that out.
Yep.
But the link is right here, so just go throw in $5 if that's all you got. Throw in $50, whatever you can.
Yeah, just a little bit, please, to help out a creator who's in need.
I remember listening to John Campea talk about this problem, the fact that a lot of writers, comic book writers and artists don't get paid what they're really supposed to be paid when their characters are used in these movies. And his whole argument, and I remember getting really angry. I was in Italy at the time and I was listening to this on a run. I was just getting really angry on my run because he was saying like, I don't understand why they're complaining. They get paid for their work. They have already been paid for their work. And I'm like, that is such
if you're a top tier artist now at Marvel, I think like one page is $150 to $250,
right?
Something like that,
right?
Yeah, and it's a fraction of what these movies end up making.
10 hours on one board,
right?
Yeah.
Right. Most artists do,
right?
Penciling and that's before plotting. That's before everything else. Yeah. So
these days, an artist who can do a page a day is rare. I mean, it used to be. Kirby and Gil Kane and those guys could turn out 4 or 5 pages a day, but
now with digital art, the companies are hiring a lot more artists that pencil and ink their own stuff, which is basically penciling it on tablet and then inking over it, or just tightening up the sketches. I've noticed that a lot, and then they just
Well, RDJ deserves $1 million a minute because people are actually coming to see him. That's I don't know if that's a fair comparison. I would worry more that, like I said, you don't see any executives at any companies saying that they need a GoFundMe to help their testosterone replacement therapy or something like this. Exactly. Here's a guy who created a character that's generated millions. There's a new Armor Wars is coming out, and apparently Cheadle's going to be in things. So, in the Avengers thing. So, this is a guy who came up with it, and he's struggling to pay basic needs at this time. He's lost his apartment. He's lost his
no creator-owned rights over at Marvel.
Right.
So, or
right. And we do know. Go on. I'm sorry. Well, we do know what we're doing when we sign these contracts. I'm sorry, James.
Yeah.
That's true. We do know what we're doing when we're signing these contracts, but we don't know And I remember my DC contract had a thing as like, if this ever goes into a movie, it's going to be like that. And my Aquaman has never been reprinted or even put on digital because they'd have to pay me to do that because those were the contracts we were signing then.
RDJ also owns a likeness to his 3D scan of his face and his head. So every time that they have to use that for visual effects or anything, they have to pay him. They have to license it, which is something like crazy money, like a couple $100,000 or something.
Right. If you want to know something about that, look up Justine Bateman's.
Thanks, Lifted Barry.
Thank you,
Good to
Barry.
see you.
Look, Justine Bateman did a great thread on Twitter about AI and likeness, things like that. It's really worth looking at.
Yeah, I sent it to you, I think.
All right.
No, maybe I didn't send that to you. Maybe it was
I sent
else,
it. I sent it to you.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah, it's on the group chat.
All the days blur together. I've been up since yesterday. So,
Okay.
But when Simu Liu got cast for Shang-Chi, I messaged him and I was like, "Hey man, congratulations on getting the role. One advice I have for you from down over here is just get your 3D likeness in your own name, and they have to pay you for it, like RDJ did."
Yep.
And he just never wrote me back. He stopped talking to me as soon as he got the role. So, actually, I think we talked twice since then. Oh, what about your friend Finn?
What about him? Yes.
Did you hear, there's some rumor he's coming back as Iron Fist.
There's a rumor, yeah, that he's coming back. Maybe. Who knows? I mean, again, he wasn't my friend. We went to the same.
We went to school together. I know.
Yeah, and he definitely wasn't my friend.
And he was the Flashman to your Tom Brown, right?
He was cool. He was very cool. Joke. Yeah. And Adrian wants to know: does anyone think anything will happen to Dwayne with Black Adam after Chapter 1? Interesting, he's joined the first. Yeah, nothing's happening with that.
Yeah. No, Black Adam's not. No,
Black
unless
Adam.
he gets low and very humble, and then he's got to come back as Black Adam in 6 years
so
or something.
Black Adam's never happening. Black Adam. Yeah.
I think what's happening is that he called the Fast and Franchise Furious people and said, "Hey, what about an after credits thing? What do you say?"
Yeah. I love how that was completely spoiled as well, and everyone's like, "All right, whatever."
Yeah.
It's like no one cares.
It's not like we're going to be, are we waiting for the next Fast and Furious to see what's going to happen? Like if Thanos is going to get the Infinity Gems or not? No, there's going to be a lot of shit blowing up and people driving cars.
Vin Diesel end up with the Infinity Gauntlet just at the end. It's like, I guess I got to do it myself. Fuck family.
you look in the background and there's Jason Statham with a pile of bills going.
Well, Vin Diesel's. I found out the problem. The problem is I only need half my family. The whole family's messing everything up.
You guys are ruining things for me.
No, we got to go even faster. It's such a dumb film.
I am Groot. Well, no, that's a successful movie. I'm sorry. I don't say that in this one. Yeah.
I thought you deleted that.
I uploaded it last time we were on.
Oh, God. Okay.
And then I deleted it, and somehow it reappeared.
And Adrian's coming back with all the questions. So, what do you think? What do you guys think Black Adam's downfall was due to? Poor writing or poor directing?
Yes.
Poor ego.
Yes. Yeah.
No, I thought the film was fine. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I like the nods to Terminator and the not so much nod to The Good and Bad and the Ugly because that wasn't set up properly. Yeah, that's what it was. I thought it was a good film. I enjoyed it. But it was the ego that got in the way. The ego got in the way. They should have been. Black Adam should have came in Shazam 2, but he didn't want to share the screen.
Yeah, and I think the audience felt that. I think there was I think a lot of that got transferred into the feel of the film, so it had sort of like a cynical almost air to it.
Pure fucking hubris.
Yes. Well, I think. Oh, okay. Don't end. We're being held hostage, everybody.
I have to go eat.
Yeah, Shaun, you can go.
Oh, thanks. Dude. No, we're in this together. If we're here, this is us.
everyone's
That's me.
Perfect. Everyone's in agreement that Dwayne's done with DC. Yeah,
especially DC.
Yeah, he's gone off to do his live action Moana and gone back. He's basically just doing the old hits again, isn't he?
Yeah,
going back to doing Moana. He's doing a Michael Keaton, but it's just not going to be as good. Not having Shazam, Superman, and Black Adam meet was a massive missed opportunity.
I'd go with that.
I mean, I personally, I wouldn't really have cared. Is that bad to say? This is my personal. Those characters to me, I like Shazam. I like Henry Cavill Superman. But Black Adam really for me was just nothing. It was a big load of nothing. I thought that, and I was going to say this when James was talking about it, when he said it's a good movie. I was going to say good is a very big word. It's
no, it's like the Snyder stuff. If you enjoy it,
yeah,
God bless, But I can tell you why I didn't enjoy it.
It was very much by the numbers, that film.
Yeah,
and after so much,
very safe.
Yeah, it was a very safe film.
Yeah, the one I felt bad for was Aldous Hodge because I just like him so much, and I thought this would be a great chance for him.
Yeah,
to break into something big.
And it ended up not being that for him, unfortunately.
Yep.
I think for me it was all about Pierce Brosnan. I liked every scene that he was in. I like Pierce Brosnan. I think he's
that's my cigarette buddy, Pierce Brosnan, and I going off together to smoke cigarettes behind a bush so our wives didn't catch us.
Is that a true story?
Yes.
Wow, that's very cool. Adrian says they spent far too much money on Black Adam. I keep on when you say BA, I keep on thinking British Airways. I think the directing was trash. The character development was poor, but I thought
wouldn't that be Turkish Airlines?
No.
You don't remember that Zack Snyder, Turkish Airlines?
Oh,
yes. That movie, Superman. Yeah.
They managed to put that in every scene.
I think of B.A. Baracus from, of course, the A-Team, that American classic.
Yes, but yeah, that film. We're not going to see him again in DC. We'll see him again in the Fast and Furious franchise. That's where you get to see him. And whatever else kind of Dwayne Johnson centric vehicle he wants to start next.
Yeah,
I get the feeling he wants to do another Hobbs and Shaw movie. I think that's why he said yes to going back to the Fast and Furious.
Once again, I consider this all a threat.
Yeah. If you don't give me money, I will make this movie.
and if you don't give me enough money, I'll make one with Mark Wahlberg again.
No, the people will actually like.
I actually like that movie, but I don't like either of them in movies now.
No. James, are you back?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Should we end the show here then?
Yes.
Yes. We can release everybody. You are released.
Thank you. Thanks everybody for listening to me pontificate and to these two be wise.
Thank you for joining in. Appreciate it.
It's very wise. Thank you everyone in the chat. Where can they find you, Shaun? Where can the people in the chat find you?
Instagram, I am Cheap Jack Shakes. Twitter, I am Cheap Jack Shakes. And on Facebook, I'm Shaun McLaughlin.
And where can they find you, James?
Twitter, EJ Lauder. And on Facebook, Small Screen Co. No, 42.com.
That's why I couldn't access my account for so long. It was you. Yeah. As you heard, EJ Lauder, Small Screen Co. everywhere. Thank you. And you can get this as a podcast later on. Hopefully we'll get those out. I forgot last week I was going to do it and completely went over my head. And there's the honestly, I look kind of high in that picture. I don't know what was going on.
You were high.
I looked a bit weird. No, I don't smoke, so no. It must have been. I think it was probably about 4:00 in the morning for me, so that was probably why. But yeah, we do put this out as a podcast, a small screen podcast. So do listen to that wherever you get your podcasts. And if you do like it, give it 5 stars, not 4 stars, as I said at the beginning of the show. Please 5. Helps us a lot. Helps us to get the podcast out. And just
on
go
Kick now
to.
too.
Yeah, we're on. What? Sorry, what was that?
Kick. We're on Kick.
Kick.
Oh,
Kick.
Kick. There's always some new one, isn't there? They'll come up with any sort of Kick, Boot, TikTok, Twitter, Twitch. It's all stupid names. I sound so old. Thank you very much. You can go to the website. It's small-screen.co.uk. Go and click on all the articles there and have good fun reading, commenting, and go on the Facebook page as well. There's a lot of weird comments on there as well that Shaun likes to read.
Not anymore. Because I'm starting to get angry.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
You can't talk to Edward that way.
Who wrote this article? A moron? I'll just go, yes. Otherwise known as ChatGPT. That's a joke. That's a joke. There's a new one now. There's Google Bard. Apparently it's better. I don't know. I find this fascinating.
Okay, we got a special treat for you, and then we're going to end.
Okay.
I don't usually drink coffee before I go out on patrol. I mean, this suits a motherfucker to get off when you have to pee, and then there's my hands. You know, you spend 30 years punching people and take collagen. That's supposed to be good for your joints.
It was exciting at first. You don't realize what's happening to you.
Switched to carbon fiber a few years ago. Otherwise.
Was he wearing that bodysuit thing? He always looked so hot in that.
I could have killed him, but no. The mask. I had to see what he was hiding.
This doesn't do shit to hide your identity. Fuck you, Zorro.
The plan that took him down was pretty simple.
I didn't think it was fair, really.
I thought he had a gun.
He couldn't think it through.
Twilight? Well, the name just came to me. It's I was going to be out mostly at night, and I wanted to be a night, night with a K. And night just sounded like something your mom says to you when she puts you to bed.
Hopefully we'll have some good news about that after the strike ends.
Yes.
I'm hoping so. DLW says, what's up, Edward?
What's up, DLW?
But yes, after there's a writer's strike, hopefully we can see Last Night of the Twilight. Yeah. Oh, and then there's this awesome movie coming out. It's about a radio show host. I think it comes out next month. I just heard about it. Edward, I think you'll dig this.
And then